This is a special episode of Let's Bring It In because today you're going to hear directly from a good friend of mine, Erin Eby, the executive creative director at PlatinumBlack, one of this show's original sponsors. We get into how they partner with in-house teams, how they think about growth, and what it really takes to create work that drives a business forward. And we recorded this episode at Just Push Record Studios in Austin, Texas. Let's bring it in. Welcome to Let's Bring It In, the podcast about creative leaders doing great work in-house. And this is a special one. This is the first time we've ever recorded in a studio. And this is my good friend, Erin Eby. And is it Eby or Ebby?
Eby, long
Eby.
E.
Oh my
yes.
gosh. So I had to ask because we have known each other for 18 years?
Since before I had just recently become Erin Eby. Yeah.
Okay.
It had been a long time.
But we haven't seen each other face to face in 15 at least.
It's crazy to think about. Yeah.
So I was working as a creative director in Switzerland for Y&R Geneva.
Yeah.
And I'd been there maybe about a year. And this University of Texas graduate applies as an intern, I think, right?
There's a slightly more interesting story than an intern application.
Okay, how'd that
So
happen?
I had been in the country for maybe 4 months, and it was a very humbling job search experience because I graduated from UT. I came out with what I thought was a great book, what everybody told me was a great book, and I felt really confident, going into the job market. But it was overseas, and I was legally able to work in the country, but I didn't speak any of the national languages because English is not one of them, of course.
They've got 4 languages,
and
but English isn't one.
English is not one. And so I was shopping around. I was talking to a lot of people. I was sending in a lot of applications, and I was getting a lot of no,
Yeah.
And it had been 4 months, and I was feeling like a little urgency to find something, until I finally just said, okay, my strategy is going to be just be as tenacious as possible with the place that I want to work, which was Y&R.
Yeah.
And so I just badgered Marcus Elliott, the
really?
CEO, to death, until I think he got so sick of hearing from me that he's like, just give this girl a computer. And so I just said, I'll work for free. I just want to work. I want to be around it. I want to get in and work with you guys and contribute. And so I came in. And so I think technically I wasn't even like a proper intern. But
Really?
then I forget the woman's name, Sabine maybe, or something like that.
Sabrine, yeah.
She was an art director at the time, and she went out on leave, and I think you guys needed more help. And that's when I started getting paid. So I jammed my foot in the door, and it ended up panning out. So.
Well, I just remember, Geneva is a small market.
Yes.
It's not, it's a fantastic place, but it was not like, the hotbed of advertising,
right?
Like San Francisco or New York or anything.
Yeah.
And we were doing great work there, but like we just knew we needed as much talent as we could get. And so when we had this portfolio I knew that the University of Texas had a really good portfolio program. It's not like you're coming out of just some school. Like I knew the University of Texas was good.
Yeah.
I thought, oh my gosh, we've got this is gold here. And then we worked together for about a year.
About a year,
right?
Yeah, I think.
And then when you left, you went to work. Yeah. You were still in Geneva, and you were a co-founder of, is it Arch?
No, it was called Cocktail at the time. Cocktail. I think they rebranded at some point after I left, but it was a guy so I was, again, sending my resume around, and I got an email back from a gentleman, Philippe, who ended up being my partner, who said, oh, I have good news and bad news. The bad news is that the agency that I had just applied to, I just sold it. So I'm no longer involved with them. They have new ownership, but I'm starting something new, and I'm looking for people to join and to be the very beginning of it. And so he and I ended up working together over the next 4 years or so while I was in the country to build it. And it was still very small when I left. So when I say build it, I mean we became a small team.
Yeah.
But it was really fun and exciting, and had fun startup energy, and I learned a hell of a lot, you know, during that time. So yeah.
So then I moved to Texas, and you eventually moved back to Texas.
Yes, by way of Boston. I was in Boston, Massachusetts for 7 years.
Where were you in Boston?
Just in East Arlington, just north of Cambridge.
Okay.
Yeah. So a little pit stop in between in New England, but.
Well, so cutting forward though,
Uh-huh.
you are now the executive creative director of Platinum Black,
Yeah.
used to be Unleaded.
Unleaded. Mhm.
I was so thrilled when I found out that I mean, part of it is because I knew the people at Platinum
Mhm.
Black or Unleaded then.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Justin, your managing partner, I had known, who I
It's
just
great.
think the world of. And so when you got that job, it was, for me, it was both super cool that I knew you were going to work at a cool place.
Mhm.
And also, like, it's kind of cool to be like, well, I remember her as an intern and now she's the executive creative director.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
did that job come about?
Well, I got a call from a recruiter, like an executive recruitment firm, and I remember I was in Houston. I have family in Houston because I grew up there. I
Uh-huh.
live in Austin now, of course. But I happened to be in Houston staying with my dad, and I got the email and then a follow-up phone call from this recruitment firm. And I was really happy at the place that I was at, prior to joining Platinum Black. And I remember telling my dad, I give this about a 5% chance of panning out when I
Yeah.
first got those initial inquiries, because you get recruitment
Yeah.
offers all the time. And I was very happy. And the more I learned about the firm and what they were doing, and especially after I spoke with Justin, the manager there, the managing director, I was like, I think this might be the right opportunity for me right now.
Yeah.
And so I didn't expect it, but it ended up being great.
So, what I'd like to talk about, because on the podcast, we typically talk to in-house creative
Yeah.
leaders. So we've talked to people, for places that, have in-house, but like Whole Foods and Liquid Death and
Hmm.
Duolingo. And so it's interesting though, because I think the advertising landscape is changing almost on a weekly basis, right?
Hmm.
And I feel like Platinum Black, while not an in-house agency, has a lot of the same DNA that, one, makes it kind of close to an in-house agency, but also two, is able to adapt to this landscape in a way that other places aren't. So can you just talk to me a little bit about what you do and or what Platinum
Yeah.
Black does, and then we'll get into what you do.
Sure. So Platinum Black, we like to define the businesses that we work with as highly technical B2B businesses. So our sweet spot is industrial, energy, manufacturing, high tech. We have a couple professional services clients that do things like cybersecurity, anything that's sort of like these big, hairy, tangly, complex concepts, and you have to sort of simplify it for a business audience. That's who we like to work for. And one of our largest clients is it's a global energy company. I think I've gotten blessing to say their name. It's Occidental Petroleum.
Okay.
So they're one of our big clients, and we have a really interesting relationship with them. And I think it's a good case study in sort of just how much firms like us can sort of flex and
Hmm.
be an extension of our clients' teams as we need to be and as they want us to be, really. So we have a very embedded relationship with Oxy in particular. We co-office with some of them. They have a creative director on their team. They have a small team of designers and marketers and strategists, and we're sort of a very integrated bolt-on support to that. So it's just I've never been with a firm that has that kind of relationship with a client before this,
Yeah.
and so it's been really interesting, sort of learning the dynamics of that relationship and how it benefits the work in some ways, and other ways that you have to sort of protect the work from the closeness of that relationship in some ways. And then for other clients, we have more of an arm's length relationship, more of a traditional agency kind of dynamic, which is
Yeah.
fun and fine. And we've got everything in between with clients that we work for that have various sized and very different ways of structuring their own in-house teams. So yeah, it's an interesting environment to kind of learn all those structures
Now,
within.
before you joined, I remember having a conversation with Justin,
Yeah.
and he was explaining the relationship with your biggest client, with Oxy.
Hmm.
And it sounded very in-house in a lot of ways,
Hmm.
like you were there doing all of their work.
Hmm.
And I think I asked him, I said, have they thought about just acquiring you? Like, what's to stop
Hmm.
them from just saying, well, now you're just our in-house agency? And tell me if I have the story wrong. I guess this might have been before you were there, though, that
Hmm.
they said someone on the client side
Hmm.
said, if we bring them too much in, then we're going to destroy what makes them unique.
Hmm.
Basically, there's an external perspective that you bring. Can
Hmm.
you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think one of the benefits, I think that the double-sided coin of the in-house team is something that I think a lot of creatives have talked about and that you've touched on in the podcast before. And so I think for one thing, the folks on the client side evaluating that decision, do we bring it all the way in-house or do we keep some kind of distance? We're savvy enough to kind of like, you know, feel that line out, toe that line and go, actually, this is kind of a great in between. Like, do we have to really, can we have our cake and eat it too in some ways?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think it keeps the team that works on that book of business exposed to um, other case studies with the other clients that we have and the work that we're doing for other clients. So they're still being sort of fed and inspired by and informed by the insights that we're gleaning from other firms that or other businesses that we've worked for,
Mhm.
which is one of the benefits of working with an out of house agency.
Yeah.
And yet they have the proximity and the sort of like deep embedded knowledge of Oxy that we need to make that highly technical work really accurate and really effective. So I feel like in many ways we get the best of both worlds with the dynamic that we've created with them.
Yeah.
And frankly, it de-risks it for Oxy, not staffing up and building out a whole team in-house puts some of the autonomy and the accountability that comes with that autonomy on PlatinumBlack still. So there's some risk mitigation move there on their behalf.
I think with any client, I mean, whether you're talking about apparel, whether you're talking about food, I mean, there's always going to be technical aspects of that client that are unique to them.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked on Home Depot for years, and Home Depot has a very different way of talking than some of the other, than Snap's apparel that I work
Uh-huh.
on now.
Yeah.
So but it seems to me that with an energy company, it seems like,
Hmm.
and it's not just technical writing,
Yeah.
but it seems like there are a lot of things that you would really have to know and know well to do
Yes.
the work for, which again, sometimes would make sense in-house, but if you are the right partner, the way you
Hmm.
guys are, that's not an issue. But can you talk a little bit about just the technical
Oh
building up
gosh.
building up
Yeah.
the I don't know, the technical muscle you have to work for a client like
Yeah. I
that?
think it takes, I mean, first of all, it takes a curiosity about that type of business, right? I think that there are some people who are just going to be naturally more curious about like, tell me how the combines work and this new facility that you have. Like you have to get really into it in order to even to write about it at the highest level. You have to really understand it on that almost on an engineering or a science level
Do you have
to
any of
make it
that
effective.
background, just out of curiosity? Did you do any science
Oh gosh, I
engineering
did.
in
Yeah, I was
college
in
or
pharma for a long time, which is another like highly technical, very, very specific, full of red tape, highly regulated, like landmines everywhere kind of
yeah.
industry. And I mean, I think that there's a lot of, as a creative, I think that there's a lot of like, I want to say freedom within those because of those constraints. It's like you get to kind of work around them and find out where are the areas that you have that you can be really creative within tight guardrails.
Yeah.
And that's kind of fun and challenging and exciting. But you have to be you have to be up to get very nerdy about some stuff. Because like,
Yeah.
I'm thinking that a lot of the work that we do is in like work will get changed in flight because of investment calls that were just made and the results
Mm.
from how that went and how some message from the board of director played among the investment audience. And then we're like, okay, well, we can't say that anymore. And like, oh, scratch that word. That has to come out of everything. And
Yeah.
a lot of that kind of iterative process.
Well, so you have to be super flexible, right?
Yeah.
How talk
Yeah.
to me about Platinum Black being flexible, because I think different agencies are flexible in different ways.
Right.
Some are less so, but
Hmm.
I mean, with that, you have to be flexible without, without spending all day complaining about like, oh, they
Yeah.
just killed this thing. I mean, stuff gets killed all the time. So
Yeah.
talk to me about your flexibility.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we just said that we were going to say sequestered, and now we can't say sequestered anymore. It has to be this other thing. I think a lot of that coming back to the benefits of having a sort of like hybrid in-house out of house model with them in particular is that we can be just as into we can really have a pulse of what they need and what's going on in their business day to day because they're working right there and we have a lot of meetings together with the client every single day and we're kind of swimming in the same pond
Mhm.
so we're able to to not take our reaction time is a lot faster, I think.
Yeah.
So that is I think agility like that is a form of flexibility in some ways. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's what you're asking, but so that's on that side. And then just as a firm, as I mentioned before, I think we're able to flex in terms of what services and how we need to structure our engagement with our clients based on the structure of their team. So I'm thinking of one client, well, we freelanced on it together, one of our professional services
Yeah.
clients. They have a small creative team. They've got a creative director,
Hmm.
who I have a lot of respect for. She's super talented, and a team of designers and a digital team, but they've got some kind of gaps, and that's where
Yeah.
we can kind of come in and go, okay, you don't need the full gambit of, we don't force the full structure, the full suite of what we could do onto a client. We really work with them together to be like, okay, your team is designing it. That's the design team. We're going to be the video team or the writing team or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think we do a good job of really coming together and working as a cohesive unit with in-house teams that way.
So I'm really curious about that because to be an executive creative director, working with clients who
Yeah.
have creative directors.
Hmm.
And my take on that for most of my career, I know this isn't the landscape anymore,
Yeah.
but most of my career would be, uh, and this is not right, but would be like, well, you're the creative director at an in-house agency. So that means you're obviously not as good because why would you not
Oh,
be working at a real agency? But
burn.
but for years
Yeah.
and years, that's
Yeah.
kind of what it was. I mean, that's been turned on its head now.
Sure.
But it would have, I think for ego or whatever reason, it would have made me much more territorial where
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
no, 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 we're the agency of record.
Hmm.
Let us tell you what to do. And then you can go do some smaller media. I mean,
Hmm.
uh, the Home Depot just severed partnership with its agency of record,
Oh.
BBDO,
Oh, really?
because they're starting to bring more work in-house. And so
Mhm.
obviously, and a lot of the, if you've been watching March Madness, a lot of
Mhm.
the Tool Shack work that they've done,
Uh-huh.
that's been done in-house.
Mhm.
And so, you can't say that, well, you're in-house, you don't know how to do good. Like no, the in-house teams are doing great work.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the original question. How how is it working as an agency with clients who already have their own creative directors and
Oh
may have
gosh.
designers, may have copywriters? What are challenges and what are benefits of that
Yeah.
relationship?
Gosh, that's such a great question. And I think it's such an interesting time as more work goes in-house. And yet you can't have very few companies can just like bring on, oh, we have now a 300 person robot, like a super robust creative team. They'll bring in the must-haves and maybe some nice to haves, and then they'll go, okay, but they're still going to need outside help from time to time, I think, a
Mhm.
lot of the time. So I think increasingly there's going to be that dynamic of an in-house team and an external team having to figure it out and work together. I think one of the challenges, I'm thinking both with Oxy, because they have a creative director on their side as well, and some of our other clients, is defining who is the decision maker, who who
Mm,
who has the say in some of these,
yeah,
on some projects or some pieces of projects, and kind of really defining the swim lanes well, and trusting your partner to sort of own different parts of the work stream,
yeah,
different parts of the process. And I'm thinking of a professional services firm that we just did a shoot for 2 days ago. And their creative director was there on set. I'm there on set. We have a director of video on set. So there's a lot of like senior people there. And I think it's just really knowing your wheelhouse and going,
yeah,
here's where I can add the most value, and here's where I trust her or him to play their role in it. And there is a lot of overlap,
yeah.
but I think that's where the value of the relationship comes in, and just building those really trusting relationships with your co-creatives,
Yeah.
is so important.
So I know you have a art director background,
Mhm.
but as an executive creative director, you've got a lot of stuff going
Many
on.
hats, yeah.
So on shoots like that, do you find yourself are you playing more the executive creative director? Are you sometimes still playing art director? Or are you
Um,
like, do they turn to you and say, does this framing look good? Or is that someone else?
yeah,
You're there for other
I
reasons.
have to restrain myself because we've got really good talent now that are focused on those elements on the shoot. Yeah, so we have an art director on set, art director ACD,
Hmm.
copywriter. It was a documentary style shoot, so he's there. He's the master of the interview guide, making sure that we
Yeah.
get all the sound bites and all that. And I see myself mostly as taking care of everybody who's there and making sure that they have what they need and making sure that we're getting what we need to get. And so I try to not micromanage people. And again, it comes back to trusting people to do their job in their specific area of expertise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, talk to me about hiring, because
Oh yeah.
when you look for to fill a spot, or, you're growing your team,
Hmm.
you want to have those levels of trust and talent.
Hmm.
Like, what are some of your priorities you have when you're hiring for
Oh
Platinum
man,
Black?
AI is just throwing me for a loop, and everybody I think in our industry as we think about hiring,
Hmm.
because it's allowing people to like taste, and the conceptual side of what we do is becoming, it's always been very, very important, obviously. But as people with fewer or more limited like technical skills suddenly are um able to do more, right? If you
Hmm.
have like writers, for example, that are like, well, I didn't learn the Adobe Creative Suite, but I can learn prompting. They're
Yeah.
suddenly sort of supercharged, and there's a lot of that. It's sort of creating a lot more multi-tool kind of players. And I think it has a lot of people questioning the structure of their organizations, and how do we scale in the age of AI when single individuals can become mini teams and many teams can become mega teams. It's just changing. It's changing everything: workflow, staffing,
Yeah.
everything like that. But I think to try to answer your question a little more simply, I think when I am looking at hiring, I'm looking at utility players,
Hmm.
people who have a depth of experience in one area, and then lots of tangent, at least at a minimum, curiosity and interest and aptitude,
Yeah.
teachable in a lot of other areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, how do you use AI these days?
Oh man, it's been a learning curve. I was resistant to it. I think like a lot of people were
Yeah.
early on. I thought to myself, why would I bother reading something that somebody couldn't bother writing?
Huh, yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like I just had a very sort of Luddite approach to the whole thing, and I was
Yeah.
like, I just want to curl up in my bed with my books and don't want to think about technology. But I've gotten increasingly excited about it.
Yeah. How
Um,
so? Like, what
Oh, just
excites you?
I've been experimenting. I started with experimenting with personal projects
Uh-huh.
before, because it was very intimidating when as an ECD, when you think about the impact on teams and workflows, it can get very overwhelming. It's like, okay, I see how it can be. I mean, and I'm excited about how it can apply to the creativity of a specific project. But then when I think about the implications of that, and I think about, oh, okay, well then what does that allow us to do? What does that mean for the firm as a whole? And how can I
Yeah.
help lead us through this change,
Yeah.
evolution? It can get overwhelming. And so I started with just playing in my own time,
Like, what would you do?
using it.
Like, I know you have
Oh,
personal projects. You've
yeah.
got, didn't you do a Christmas book?
I did, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That was a long time ago. That was before the AI age, but
Real
uh
quick, where can people buy this Christmas
oh,
book? If they
thesantabook.com, wherever the
the
camera is.
santabook.com.
Yes, yes, for parents with kids who are getting very curious about Santa Claus.
Okay.
Um,
But my point is, you do have a lot of you have personal projects. So how
yeah.
did you start to incorporate AI in your personal
Yeah,
projects?
I think using it to vet ideas, to iterate really quickly. I write a lot of short story stuff just for my own pleasure and entertainment and fun. And
Mhm.
so, if I had a draft that I thought was good, but I was like, I think it has a saggy middle, I might feed it in and like solicit input.
Mhm.
Or so using it kind of as a sounding board, or like I have these three ideas, give it to me straight, where can I make this better? So not relying on it to like write for you. And I'm talking, of course, like ChatGPT and Claude and the other like language models now. But don't let it do the writing for you, but using it uh, as a way to prompt help get you unstuck as the writer has been
Yeah.
really interesting. And then on the visual side, I think just playing around in Firefly and seeing what works and what generates, nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
And that's been really fun. I was decorating. I was like redecorating my master bedroom, and I'm no interior decorator, but I have a design inclination, right? And so I was like, well, I'm shopping around online. I'm pulling down things that I think are interesting, and I throw them all onto a board, and then I tell it to how to composite that, so I can react to it in real as a whole image rather than as like separate images. So
Yeah.
just fun things because I think it's easy to be afraid of something that you don't understand
Yeah.
yourself. And so just getting in there on low risk, low intensity, projects in the beginning was a learning curve for me and
Yeah.
was really fun, educational.
There's a guy named Ethan Mollick who I'm a fan of, and I think he teaches at UPenn, but
Mhm.
he's got a master class. One of the first master classes on generative AI was
Mhm.
hosted by him. And he talks about AI being a jagged frontier,
Mhm.
meaning there are some things that it's really good at and something it's terrible at.
Yeah.
Have you ever used ChatGPT to solve a Wordle?
No.
It can't do it. It's terrible.
Which
ChatGPT
is
is
shocking.
I know, right? But
Yeah.
it's terrible at Wordle.
Right.
If you play spelling bee,
Mhm.
it can't do spelling bee at all. But there are other things that it's incredibly good at. And his point is the only way we explore the jagged frontier is by using it
Yeah.
and using it a lot because there are some things as a copywriter, because I love copywriting and because
Mhm.
I've spent decades copywriting, I will always be a better copywriter than ChatGPT. And some
100%.
people may say, "Oh, you're just saying that because you're afraid it's going to take your job." But
Yeah.
no, like ChatGPT can spit out, 100 headlines,
Right.
but it doesn't have the discernment to say, this one's good, this one's bad, this one's been used before, this
Mhm.
one could work if you flip flopped it.
Mhm. Mhm.
It just can't do that. It can just spit them out. And
Mhm.
so the discernment that you as an art director or I as a writer or
Mhm.
anyone who has spent time in the space, uh, if you're excellent at math, it's probably not going to be as good as at math as you are. That's
Mhm.
just so we use it for the things that that we're not as good at.
Mhm.
So it's interesting to hear you say that. How is the agency using it? How is Platinum Black using
Oh man, so we've sort of formalized an internal coaching program
it?
to encourage people to we've got workshops like in person where it's like, okay, we're all going to hold hands and take deep breaths and we're going to get in and do it together, people. Because I think just that forced exposure helps democratize it a little bit,
Yeah.
because I think one of the risks in an agency is you've got some people who are super users and some people who are like, no way, I want nothing to do with that. I
Hmm.
like my old workflow. I'm confident doing it that way. And that creates some inconsistencies and risks and bottlenecks when it comes to who can do certain types of projects, who can't, and oh, we can only put so and so on it because he's at a whiz with this
Yeah.
particular program. So to avoid that, we're trying to sort of peanut butter spread a little bit and get everybody comfortable at at least an intermediate level of use. And now, of course, AI is so embedded in all of the Adobe software, right?
Yeah.
Not including all of the other cool AI tools and platforms. Lots of video ones are getting very, very good.
Yeah.
Railway, I forget the letters come out. Railway something something. But I feel like there is always something new,
Yeah.
and I think tasking individuals within the firm to pressure test it and be like, just try it. Like your job is to spend 3 hours today
Mm.
playing with this and seeing
Huh.
seeing what it can do, and come back and tell me what the experience was and what we could consider using it for and what it wouldn't be good at.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, putting structure around experimentation
Yeah.
is what we're attempting to do. Yeah.
So I want to switch a little bit because you just attended the One Club Creative
Yeah.
Leaders Conference. Do I have that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to hear about that. Did they talk about AI at all?
Oh, yeah, a lot. Of
Really?
course, of course. It was so interesting. I had gotten emails about that event for years, and I
Yeah.
had just never gone. And this time something spoke to me, and I was just like, I think this is the year that I really want to go, because I think everybody at a agency leadership level is feeling that same, we're all
What are we
holding our breath a
doing? What do
little.
we, yeah,
Yeah, it's like that imposter complex of I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
yeah.
Um, and so I really wanted to go, and they had one of the reasons I wanted to go was that they have a very like limited attendance format. So it was like 150 people capped, I think,
Mm.
intentionally so that they could create space for lots of time and space for small group conversations, unstructured small group
Oh,
conversations at
interesting.
lunch and at cocktail hour and outside when you're waiting for an offsite event, and the opportunity just to get time with other leaders and to just chat with them about how they're handling, how we're all
Like,
facing
just out
some
of
of
curiosity, like,
this.
who are you can name names or even just say kind of categories of where they were, but like,
Oh,
what were the types of people that you were having these conversations with?
I was really I I didn't expect the level of diversity when it came to where folks work. Like, one woman, is an in-house ECD of a big manufacturing company, and she and I had a lot to chat about, obviously,
Hmm.
because we have some overlap. There were a couple people in the recruitment space, which
Mm.
were very interesting to chat with, especially as it relates to AI and kind of how they're
Yeah.
dealing with that, what they're seeing and looking at. There are folks from big agencies. There's a woman who I had a great time with, spent a lot of time with, who came in from Melbourne, Australia, I believe. She
Huh.
had come so far, and I think she was with. Ooh, I'm going to get her agency wrong. Sorry, it's a big firm, maybe BBDO
It was
or Ogilvy or something of that
one of the
nature.
bigger ones. Okay.
One of the bigger firms. Um, so yeah, totally diverse set of people, but all really bright and with a lot of different perspective to offer.
Yeah. And was this in Mesa or where? This was in Arizona somewhere?
Scottsdale.
Scottsdale. Okay.
Mhm.
So you fly out to Scottsdale
Yeah.
and about 150 people there. And is it a resort?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess you could call it a resort.
Okay.
It was a nice hotel, with, few conference rooms that we spent most of our time in. And we did there were some outings, went out to dinner in old Scottsdale one evening with a group, which was great. And
Yeah.
then, you got to choose from a few different experiences, and I and some folks chose to hike Camelback Mountain, which was my
Oh,
first time, which
really?
was really great. So yeah, a little
I've seen
fun.
it from the airport, but I haven't done
Yeah.
it. So,
Yeah. It was fun.
um, it sounds fascinating that, I mean, just that kind of group coming together.
Hmm.
Um, did they have different, I'm assuming they had different lecturers and you
Yeah.
probably weren't able to go to all of them, right?
Right.
So you kind of had to look at like a menu of options and say,
Hmm.
these are, I can do this one at 3 o'clock. I'll miss this other one at 5, but I want to go to the other one at 5. What was it? That kind of thing.
Exactly.
What
Yep.
were some of the things that stood out to you from some of those
Um,
presentations?
yeah, one of my favorite ones was about how to lead through AI.
Mm.
And more broadly, just how to lead with confidence during uncertainty. There's always some level of uncertainty. None of us have a crystal ball, and just sort of how to lead through that, lead your team through that, which I thought was really great. And then there were two talks that I went to that I felt they felt very related. One was by a gentleman named Ali Rez, who I believe was the regional CD for the Middle East.
Okay.
Um,
I feel like I know that name, but
Really? Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Super great speaker, bright guy. And he talked about sort of creative bravery.
Hmm.
I don't know if I can swear on this podcast, bleep me out, but
Yes, you can swear.
his talk was called "In Our Next Campaign We'll Make You Shit Your Pants," which I was like, I gotta sign up for that one. You can't skip that. And he talked about how to get nervous clients to buy brave work. And
Okay.
he's done some of the bravest stuff in the region. It's a very risky region to do
Yeah.
bold work. And
Yeah.
so he had an amazing talk about some of the techniques that you can use to work with clients to get them to buy good work, bold work that
Hmm.
moves the needle, which was great. And then the other one that I felt was very related to that was, oh, I should have brought notes with everybody's names, because I'm not going to recall her name, but she was
We'll tag them all on LinkedIn
yes,
when we
sorry
post
guys,
this.
one of the lead strategists at Ogilvy did a talk called "The Business Case for Magic,"
Hmm.
and it was great to have a room full of creatives hear from a strategist who believes so strongly in the efficacy of creative work. And she was talking about a book called The Creative Dividend, which I've ordered and not read yet,
Hmm.
but about the importance and how I believe creative of all the levers that we have to pull as marketers, meaning audience, targeting, media mix, longevity of the campaign, yada yada, all of the stuff. Strong creative was some kind of like 12x multiplier, which was some multiple of the other of the influence of the other factors. And so she just had a great talk about, why bold, solid, excellent, strategically grounded creative work is so important. So both of those talks sort of, to me, kind of rolled up together into like, you know, you have to sell the good work in order for it to move the needle. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So the whole conference, something you definitely recommend?
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely going next year.
Really?
Like, yeah, I want to put it on the calendar every year. It was that valuable
Oh, that's
to
great.
have those other perspectives and conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's something I want to ask you.
Hmm.
You are an executive creative director, successful woman. You're going to these leadership conferences, you're
Hmm.
leading teams.
Hmm.
You're also a mom.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
By the skin of my teeth most days. That's kind of you, first of all. I don't know. I think that I over the course of my career, I think I did these swings. And I don't know if other parents maybe have felt the same way, but there were times in my career where I felt like I was really pushing it. And I was like really, I was like, I want to get to that next level in my job. I'm so committed and I just want to pour all this energy, and it always comes at an expense to the family. You
Mhm,
don't have there's always an opportunity cost. And then sometimes I swung it back, and I remember I was with an agency that shall not be named. But it was one of these places that is a turn and burn kind of shop.
mhm,
And I was in ACD at the time and just working crazy hours. And I had 2 kids and I was very pregnant with my third. And I was not okay. I was not doing well. I was like, missing my kid, working nights and weekends. I was not physically doing well. It was just getting to me. And I was like, I have to make a change. And I talked to my managers and I said, I love my team. I love the work that I'm doing. Is there a way to like cap me at 40 hours a week? Like,
mm,
I'm not asking to, work 20 part-time, but um I need a little bit of protection around the work-life balance. And
yeah,
they were like, no, actually, we need you as much as we need you. And I had to just make a really hard decision and say, I gotta find another opportunity then.
yeah,
And it felt at the time like taking a step back. It was really scary, to be honest, because I felt like I was choosing family over work and that there was going to be some big consequence to my career because of that. But my strategy then going from that place, I was like, I'm just going to call people who I know I have a lot of respect for, um, and and I know will respect, my family situation right now and all of that. And I ended up at a place where I was playing, I think my title was brand director or something like this, which
mhm,
feels very squishy because it was kind of squishy. It was a smaller shop. It's like sub 20 people.
mhm,
And I was doing a lot of, I was kind of straddling strategy and creative direction, which was really fun and like a huge learning. It's been very valuable. Worked super closely with the clients, both to sort of determine the strategic way forward and then sort of lead the creative team through what we need to do in order to execute on that strategy. And that happened to open up all these other doors. So I think this is a very winding answer, but I think that when all of life is an opportunity cost, I think you really have to feel your way through it intuitively and
yeah,
go, I'm gonna go where I'm needed most, whether that's my family needs more of me, or now's my time. I'm really gonna commit and lean in on work, and trust that, fruition will come on the other side, but we're all just trying to do our best, you
yeah,
know?
awesome.
Yeah.
Erin, I know our time is
Mhm.
coming close to an end, but do you have anything that you'd like to mention about Platinum Black,
Oh,
about your
wow.
team, any advice you wanna give?
Yeah.
You got
Shameless plugs.
open
I
floor.
don't oh gosh, advice I wanna give. I don't know. I should have really prepared more. Platinum Black is great. It's one of it's a challenging work environment because of the nature of the clients that we work for. Um, I love the structure of the team. I think one of the unique things about it is that we're kind of this hybrid. We haven't talked much about this, but we're kind of this hybrid model of we've got a robust team of strategists who come from the consulting world. You know, they're former McKinsey and
Oh, that's got to be
Accenture
valuable.
and Grant Thornton and these big consulting firms. And so
Yeah.
they bring this like totally different perspective. These are guys that have never worked in an agency before.
Hmm.
They're all the quarters that we have good natured ribbing fun with them. It's like, oh, this is the quarter zip corner over
Is
here.
that a thing? Because I love quarter zips.
Yeah.
I've got a closet full of quarter zips.
You're made to be a
That makes,
strategist. There you go.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
Okay.
not. But so we've got this like robust strategic function that goes all the way. It's far more upstream than like brand strategy. You
Mhm.
have kind of like fluff strategy where like agencies sometimes will come in and go, tell us how your brand would smell. Would it smell like cut grass or like a summer day? And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, there's only so much, you know, go to market insight that can come from that. It's
Yeah.
like, maybe it can help you pick some colors or
Yeah.
something. It can inform something, but will it really move the needle in the market?
Mhm.
Probably not. And so we our engagements tend to start much more upstream with business strategy and merger and acquisition strategy, regional strategy. Where should you have presence in the country or out of the country? All kinds of deep research that those guys do. And as a creative, it like it's so satisfying because you have stuff you can really sink your teeth into. If you go through the strategy deck, and sort of the messaging that falls out of that and what the marketing strategy and what we're trying to do, it feels like you can really hold on to it and then make bold, strategically rooted creative recommendations
Mhm.
that I think that the clients appreciate are well founded. You suddenly have very, very solid ground to stand upon.
Yeah.
So it's great. And then of course from there we can take it all the way through all the executional work that we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really admire agencies that don't just act like agencies.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, my current agency, like, I feel like it's more of, we're founded by someone who's got a VC background, and it shows. Like,
Hmm.
I don't feel like I'm at an agency surrounded by agency people. And for Platinum Black to be an agency that has genuine strategists, not just, oh, I'm an ad strategist or I'm a planner, like
Right.
nothing is wrong with that. But I think that certainly that affects the types of clients that you have
Hmm.
and gives Platinum Black a kind of a special niche that other agencies wouldn't necessarily be able to fulfill.
Yeah. It's
Um,
interesting.
and I had no idea about the quarter zip thing. So now I know what
Not trying to dog the quarter zip. It's
no,
it's
I
it's a
love,
good look.
honestly, I've got like 5 of them, but I
Yeah.
just didn't know that I
It
was
is
part
just
of the
funny when
club.
you move from like, the video team corner and there's a lot of black jeans and, people got their headphones on. It's all dark over there. And then you go down the you go down the corridor. It's like a very different vibe,
Yeah.
So it's part of what makes it fun is the diversity of it.
What has, surprised you and been maybe the most, joyful to you of
Hmm.
your time at Platinum Black since you've been there?
Oh wow. I feel like everybody says this answer, but it's so true. It's the people are so great.
Yeah,
People, I mean, you have to be very picky about who you spend 40 plus hours a week with, I
yeah,
think, and I've gotten pickier, I think, because I've moved through different spaces and I really learn like what I appreciate, and what I, would rather do without in
yeah.
that much time that we spend with one another. And I think everybody there has this just genuine curiosity and a lot of respect for the other disciplines that we have because we're talking a lot about strategy and how it kind of sits alongside creative and everything. We've got a lot of people with very, very different skill sets that are all in a meeting together and can have these interesting, um respectful challenges, like healthy pressure test, different perspectives, asking different questions about the work than you might normally hear when you get a diverse range of people
Mhm.
in a room to decide on what are we showing the client. And I really appreciate that. It's like thoughtful debate, I think is what makes it really great. And then liking those people too helps a lot,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
I I I agree. I know, yes, saying the people is the thing,
Yeah.
but I do
Yeah.
think, I mean, the other answer that a lot of people would say is, the work, but
Mhm.
I think that you do better work when you're around people that you really enjoy,
Yeah.
you know? I
Yeah.
mean, that just, uh, no one wants to go to work. Even if you're doing terrific work,
Yeah.
it's not really sustainable to do terrific work
Mhm.
if the people around you are driving you nuts.
Yeah.
So,
I've heard there's 4 things in every you've heard this. It's, how much does it cost? How long does it take to get it done? How good is it gonna be? And then how miserable are we all in the process?
oh, I haven't heard that. That's
That in
great.
terms of, like, the value of any particular endeavor or project, and that 4th one is that's a big one,
Yeah,
you know? It's like, um, the experience of creating the work, is, to me, as fun, as rewarding as sitting back and going like, "That's a cool thing. That's a cool
yeah.
thing that we made," you know?
You know, in his book, Hey Whipple Squeeze This, Luke
Yeah,
Sullivan's classic,
yeah.
he points out that it takes just as long to do a bad TV commercial as it does to
Mm,
do a good TV commercial. So you may as well put in the effort to make it really good, which I
yeah,
buy that. The other thing to consider though is it takes it takes just as long to work with people who are awful as it does to work with people who are good.
or longer.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And how, you want to end the day not having to, I mean, we all have to decompress at the end of the day, but
Yeah,
it shouldn't be like every day because, oh,
yeah,
so
yeah,
that's great.
yeah. People are I mean, you think about it, it's like, we're not a huge firm. We're still, sub 150 people.
Mm.
And I think that, I guess, 150 in my mind, for whatever, that's totally arbitrary number, by the way, is where you go from, like, small to mid size to
I
maybe
mean,
a
that's in
little
my
bit
head
bigger.
too. Yeah.
Starts building from there. And I think one of the things that you just have to be very conscious of as a leader of that size group is that every individual is a bigger contributor to the overall culture. Like, every person has a bigger influence than a larger place. It's like
Yeah.
concentration of food coloring in a bucket of water.
That's
And
interesting.
when
Yeah.
you have one person who you kind of let get away with it, it's like, oh, that's just so and so. He's always cranky. You can make excuses for people. It's like that's just how he is. I think that you start being ambivalent about that kind of stuff, and that's when culture starts to sort of shift,
Yeah.
imperceptibly. It's like, oh, that's okay. I see that behavior is okay. And that behavior grows and more excuses are made. And so I try to be kind, but very intentional about, like, that's not how we work here.
Yeah.
When you see something, when you see behavior like that. And then, of course, encourage the positive side of that is all the carrot rather than the stick
Yeah.
is just publicly praising the behaviors that you do wanna encourage and see.
Yeah.
So
I think it was, Chip and Dan Heath. They're the
mhm.
brothers who write books like, Made to Stick,
Yeah.
and I think they wrote a book called Change.
Mm.
And one of the things that they point out in Change that I really liked is when you see whether it's bad behavior or bad habits or, bad culture, that it's not the remedy isn't necessarily find what's wrong and fix it. The quicker remedy is find the good things that are happening and then do more of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you find that to maybe be the
Yeah.
case?
I have to think about that one. Yeah, I guess in the hope that, if you do enough, if you encourage enough of the good behavior, that it'll sort of like squash out or push out.
Yeah.
There won't be room
Or even just set
for
the
them.
bar. Is it like
Mhm.
set the standard? Like this is
Mm.
the culture and
Mhm. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I think about that. We have a little tradition. I know we're probably coming up on time here, but um, one of the things that I love about Monday morning meetings, not many things to love about Monday morning meeting, but we have an all team stand up for 30 minutes,
yeah.
every Monday morning, and everybody gets on. And at the very end, we do thanks and congrats, or thanks and, yeah, like thanks and gratitude.
Huh.
And where people will raise
Right
their
there, I
hand.
gotta say right there, that's like a good culture move though.
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
that's great.
And people love it. And I
Yeah.
think people actually go into Monday being like, "Who am I grateful for? Who is, like, doing me a solid lately?" And there's a little love fest that goes with, "Thanks to so and so for doing this. So and so did an amazing job at this. Great job." And then at the end of that, we've got the baseball, which is a very prestigious award because only one person a week gets it. But whoever was the former recipient of the baseball, they get to throw it, quote unquote, to the one person that they're like, this person deserves an outstanding recognition this week. And so the baseball sort of gets passed around, and it's a little point of pride. It's a little black baseball, and everybody signs their name in gold on it.
Oh, very good.
And
The platinum black colors.
exactly. So yeah, just little things like that I think go a long way.
That's
for
really
people.
cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Erin, thanks for joining us here. Are you ready for the
you.
bonus question?
Oh, I don't know.
I ask all my guests the
I'm
same
braced.
question. Here's the question. If you were in an airport, you can go anywhere, but the plane's leaving soon, and you can go anywhere. Money's not a factor, time's not a factor. Where are you going to go and why? And you get 2 answers. You get a domestic location and an international location.
Wow. I'm so unprepared for this. I'm going to need a minute to think. I'm very torn internationally. There's so many great places.
Well, there are questions like, do I want to go back to where? Do I want to go back to Switzerland? Because I love it.
I've seen it already.
Yeah,
Been there, done that.
Exactly. Like I haven't been to Japan, so I got to put that above. Yeah.
I was very torn. It's Japan and New Zealand are at the top of my list. I think I would do Japan only because I haven't seen a lot of Asia.
Yeah.
I've been to Indonesia. And
where in Indonesia?
At Bali.
Oh,
so I mean, and so it was a lot of resort stuff, but
still.
I saw like this much of like real Indonesia, I guess. But it was fun and really interesting.
What are you going to do in Japan?
I don't know. Maybe just you know what I saw recently? There's a woman that I follow called Ayumi Hori, who's an artist that makes these amazing ceramics, and she illustrates these little creatures on the ceramic. Just check it out. She's super talented, and she is hosting a pottery tour of Japan where they go to all these little studios and learn all the techniques of the pottery making like around the coast. So it's like a tour with other artists and people who are just curious about it, such as myself. And I was so tempted to be like, that sounds so great. I want to sign up. So I think I would do something like that. I would want to visit the cultural sites, of course. I'd want to see Tokyo. You got to do that. And then I would want to see kind of the makers. They have like such a rich history of craftsmanship that I think I'd really want to like get nerdy and dig into that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And domestic?
Oh, domestic. I gotta hurry up. Maybe the Pacific Northwest. I've never been to Seattle or Portland.
Really?
Yeah, and there's some beautiful places up there, and so it's part of the country that I just haven't really. It's the white space of America that I haven't seen.
My wife's from Portland, and then my sister lives in Seattle. And the Pacific Northwest is like our second home.
Oh, really?
Our kids would say they know Dallas and Portland the best.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's great.
I got to pick your brain about it then.
Yeah.
Nice.
You should definitely go. Erin Eby, Executive Creative Director of PlatinumBlack. Thank you so much for being here. This is great.
Thank you.
This is first time in 15
we got to do it more frequently than every decade
that we've seen each other.
Yeah.
So at least live.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was a pleasure.
Thanks for joining. And please, I don't know how to end this now, so we're just going to end this. Visit us at letsbringitin.com. And Let's Bring It In is a production of Barnes Creative Bank at barnescreativebank.com.